what I'd like to tell you now is how we conserve statues. This is kind of interesting. Back, in the mid-80s, the statues didn't look like this, and worldwide they didn't look like this. What was happening when if you saw a statue in the early 80s, it would be half green, half black, and the green would be really streaky green. And this is green is corrosion in the statue. Statues are made of bronze, and bronze rusts, if you will, green. My car is steel, and when it rusts, it goes red, really red spots of rust. But a bronze statue, when it rusts, it has green streaks in it. And so worldwide, statues were dark blackish and half dark blackish, and the rest was very streaky green. And this is active corrosion. And it was realized in the conservation community in Italy, in Venice, it was realized that something bad was happening to statues worldwide, and it started with the horses in San Marco, I believe. They were half green, half black, and conservators looked underneath the green and discovered that underneath the green, the corrosion was actively going on and removing all of the surface metal of the statues. So after that point, after the mid-80s, worldwide attention started to be focused to statues. And in Canada, in around about 1980, I came here in 1987, around about 1988, the government of Canada decided to conserve all of its statues to stop them corroding. And so what I'd like to do is talk about the mechanism of how a statue corrodes. So what I'd like to do is pretend that I'm a statue. So here, I'm a statue. Let's suppose I'm just standing here as a statue and it's raining. And this is now acid rain coming down on me. And the rain would hit my head, and then it would dribble off and maybe come to my nose, and then drop down and hit my shirt, and run along this crease in my shirt, and so on, and then down to the ground. So on a statue, rain comes down and tends to run in rivers down the statue. And wherever you have this river of little streams of water running down, this water is what we call acid rain. And that's the areas that would become streaky green. Other areas are quite sheltered. For example, underneath my arm, that would never get wet. And those are the areas, the sheltered areas, would go black. And so in an actively corroding statue, it would be half green and half black. The way that we conserve those statues, and worldwide people in Europe, people in the States were doing different things. The conservation community was doing different things. But in Canada, this is the way we did it. First of all, we hired a professional conservator to do the work. The conservator would scaffold the statue so that he could get at it. And first thing he would do is wash the statue, wash all the dirt off the statue. There would be sand and grime and pigeon dirt and all kinds of things like that, and so it was washed off. The next thing that the conservator did was had a spray bottle of a chemically pure form of what's called liver of sulfur. When the statue's first made and it comes out of the casting process, the bronze is bright and shiny, just like a new penny. But that surface is unstable, and it won't stay that way for very long. And so what the sculptors originally did is sprayed liver of sulfur on it, and this turned it to a lovely brown color right away. And then they would wax that, and then the statue would be placed on Parliament Hill. So what our conservator did was, excuse me, what our conservator did was had a chemically pure version of liver of sulfur in a spray bottle, and he would spray those green areas. And when the spray hit the green areas, it would immediately turn to the color that we have here. So the streaky green areas are still there, but they've been patinated with this chemically pure form of liver of sulfur. The areas that were dark on the statue were not touched. We didn't touch them at all with that chemical. So that was the first. So we cleaned the statue, and then we patinated the green areas. The next thing that was done was a hot wax was applied. To apply the hot wax, the conservator has a special conservator's wax, and he would heat the entire, he would use a blowtorch to heat the bronze, and then have a brush that he would dip into the wax, and then paint the statue. And the wax would immediately soak into the hot metal. That's called hot waxing. And that was done over the whole statue, both the areas that were patinated and the areas that we didn't patinate. So that's a hot waxing. The next thing that was done was a cold waxing. And that's exactly like the hot waxing, except there's no heat. And the theory is that we have layers of protection. So the cold wax protects the hot wax protects the patina, and the patina protects the metal. And the outside protection, the cold wax, is sacrificial. And every year our conservator comes back. Public Works has been excellent at maintaining the statues every year since we did the initial conservation. And every year the conservator is brought back in, he checks the statue, and sometimes he'll find a white blister on the bronze. Well, that's the cold wax separating from the hot wax. And when that happens, he would remove the blister and reapply the cold wax. Sometimes he will see a bit of green corrosion occurring within that blister or underneath the blister. In that case, the weather's gotten through the cold wax, through the hot wax, through the patina, and it's corroding the metal. The weather is corroding the metal. And so what he would do then is all of the steps that we did in the initial conservation, but just on that one small area. So, and that's been done every year since we did that initial conservation. And so the statues on Parliament Hill are all in really excellent shape. And tourists who are looking at the statues now are seeing them pretty close to what they would be when the artist unveiled it. If you are over at the Queen statue, that's a new statue. It looks in color and so on fairly similar to that statue now. And so that's happening worldwide. We talked about patination just a little while ago. I want to show you another type of patination on the lion's tail. So let's come over here. Now, you can see this lovely, like this area of this is the area that we, the green is still here, and it's been patinated. If you look very closely, you can still see, you can see it in there, underneath the hot wax and the cold wax. But I wanted to talk about this area of the tail here. Now you can see how I'm touching it quite naturally. Well, millions and millions of Canadians, as they visit Parliament Hill, and not just Canadians, but tourists from all around the world, do just what I'm doing here. And what's happening here is oils from our hands are, excuse me, my voice is going hoarse. Oils from our hands are getting onto the bronze, and these oils are actually patinating. They're causing a chemical reaction and patinating the surface into this lovely burnished color. When we were conserving this statue, we could have, had we wanted to, removed all that evidence of people touching the bronze, but we wouldn't want to do that, and so we didn't. So this area was not patinated; it was simply hot waxed and cold waxed, and so this shows the interaction of people with the statue. There are other statues which show this too. On the statue of Lester B. Pearson, his boot and the shoelaces are burnished now in this way, and we're carefully preserving that as we maintain both the statue and other statues where this occurs. But that's what's happening there.